Hello and welcome to Thought Your Woke No Speed Limit Podcast. I am your host, Alvin. I hope you had a terrific and wonderful holiday season. I do hope that your New Year's will be great, awesome, and that whatever you decide to do this year, it will be successful. I will continue to pray for that for you and your family. Now, let's get on with the show. Many of you last night may have been watching Monday Night Football. It was a critical game. It was the Bills versus the Bengals. You know, the Bills have probably already won the AFC, but they needed this game to secure their home field advantage in the AFC. And the Bengals were trying to win a playoff spot. So the game was critical to both teams to secure those playoff spots. However, at 5:58 left in the first quarter, Damar Hamlin, the safety for the Bills, goes to make a tackle. If you watch the film, you'll see it looks like the number 85, the wide receiver that he was tackling, seems to sort of hit him in the chest. He falls to the side. Both of them fall on the ground. Hamlin gets up. He stands straight up and then immediately collapses to the ground. What followed was 9 minutes of CPR. Players around in circles in prayer for him. It was hard to watch. Let's just say this. I am a guy who played football both in high school and in college. And that was a very difficult thing to watch. Damar Hamlin, they did resuscitate him. It took them a few minutes, and everybody said it was about 9 minutes. All the news media saying it was about 9 minutes. They took him to a local hospital. They sedated him and had put him on a respirator. From when I hear, all of his vital signs are normal so far. The question is, of course, was there any damage done to his brain or other organs in his body? We don't know at this time. The reason why they sedated him is, of course, they put him on a respirator. He is 24 years old. He has a better chance of recovery than most people. I do hate respirators, and I've heard things from the medical field that respirators are like a last-ditch thing, and really they don't want to put you on one because there's a chance people don't come off of those. And I don't really want to get into the details because I've had this experience in my family on several occasions, so I don't want to get into details about the medical situation with respirators. But I will say this. Like I said, I played football myself. I played for a number of years. Somehow, as a sophomore in high school, before that I was a band nerd, I fell in love with the game of football. I liked that. When I went out there, the first hit I made, and just all of a sudden that adrenaline rush. I enjoyed football from that moment on. So for 2 years of high school and 4 years of college, I played football. I loved it. I wasn't a starter. It wasn't in high school I was, but in college I wasn't the greatest player in the world. I'll admit that. But I did get to play. I was out there on the field 4 years in a row. And I saw people get hurt all the time. This is the thing about football. Football is a very, very violent sport. There's no doubt about how violent the sport of football is. It is a true gladiator sport, one of the last ones. I think the only other sport that's probably a little bit more vicious than that is hockey, maybe. That's like you're on skates. You can go 60, 70 miles an hour and run straight into somebody on skates. So that's a pretty vicious sport, right? Football is horrific. I mean, you think about two grown men running at 25 miles an hour, blowing each other up on the field. There's stories they talk about. They were talking about Ryan Clark today during a game with the Ravens where he blew up the running back. I think it was Ray Rice at the time, and they were talking about it was in a game that was meaningless. Here's the thing: they pay these guys a lot of money. And we can talk about all of that because I'm hearing people, now comes the politics of football. Please, I'm telling all my folks in the media thing, this is not time to be about the politics of football. We hear about the horror stories of CTE. It is a good time to bring that up. The health and well-being of these players are at stake. Because once they get out of football, they're out of football. Now, they get good health insurance and all that stuff, but they weren't getting that at first. They weren't giving you that. You don't give up all your body for a sport for, some guys 12, 13 years. Some guys don't make it past. Most players in the NFL only last 2 years. 2 years. Not very many make it to 6, 7, or 8 years. 8 to 12 years, you're a really good player. That's a lot of good players that last that long, but it's not as many as you think. Most careers are 2 years long in them. 2 to 4. 2 to 4 years. That's it. And you can do a lot of damage to your body within those 2 to 4 years. Like I said, CTE is the biggest thing. As a player, I always have to be concerned about hits that I had in high school and college, or hits that I made in high school and college. I mean, I literally hit people and had headaches after I hit them. That's football. It can literally do damage in ways you just can't imagine. No, like I said, here's Damar Hamlin. It's about him. And I've seen injuries. I've seen people carted off on hospital carts on the football field. I remember it was my freshman year. We went to this place called St. Charles in Louisiana. Played this team called St. Charles. Well, it's actually in Illinois. I said Louisiana. In Illinois, cold, snowy night. We break through. We hit this guy. I follow him on the pile. Next thing I know, he's injured. They had to carry him off on a stretcher. I remember that night. It sticks with me forever. I've seen other injuries where people have had concussions, and concussions are a strange animal. You can have people walk off the field, play a whole game, and all of a sudden that concussion hit them right after the game's over with, and it's literally happened. They have permanent damage. It does permanent damage to the body. Those have long-term effects. I'm right now. I have problems right now walking on my ankles and my knees because of all the sports I play. I have those problems now. I have to deal with that at almost 50 years old. I'm not even 50 yet, and I have to deal with that now. That is a truth about sports. So when you see this hit, and I'm not going to play it here, but when you see this hit to Hamlin, to Damar Hamlin, when you see that hit, you at first think, well, that was a pretty hard hit. He gets up, he stands up, he just suddenly falls to the ground. It brought me the tears to watch the whole thing. As a guy who loves football, I've loved it my entire life. I cannot right now watch a down of football. Now, I'm not lying. I cannot. Right this minute, it's out of my system. Now, I will say this about the NFL. They did the right thing last night. They ended the game. They postponed the game. Let's stop it altogether. I understand it's a critical game, but this person's life has just affected the entire team. You got players gathering around crying. You got coaches crying. Sorry, guys. Anyway, you got coaches and players crying. You got people in the stands probably crying as well. What you're seeing is real. Everybody loves the sport. Everybody loves the big hits. But God knows you don't want to see the injuries. You don't want to see anybody hurt that bad. And like I said, this is the first time I cannot watch another down of football. You know, it's a sport I love playing. You know, I wouldn't mind my kids if they play. My wife said she'll never want, especially after this, she'll never want the kids to play football. It's hard for me to even sit here and talk about this the right way, but he is an example of what people are giving up for that sport, and people don't realize that. Despite the fact they pay them millions of dollars. Well, they pay him millions of dollars, so what? It's a big so what. You pay $50 to sit in the stand and watch the game, but he's out there on the field playing with you, possibly losing years of his life for your entertainment. And people just don't understand that. I mean, there's so much money swirling around football. I was thinking about these packages for the national championship game. The average person on the street ain't going to be able to pay for tickets to go to a national championship football game for college right now. The students, they don't get free tickets to those games. The school buys packages, but then they sell those packages for what, $35,000, probably at this point $6,500 a piece for those tickets to the national championship game. The average person does not go to the Super Bowl. Most of the people in that Super Bowl are wealthy or well off enough where they can afford to be at the Super Bowl. That's not something we do on a regular basis. But sports serves as a buffer in our society, gives something to entertain, keeps us from being those people who push everything over the edge. I mean, it's always been that. That's the whole idea of sports. It's called the gladiatorial. You know, we can talk about the money in sports. We can talk about all of that, but it's the part in our society that gives us a alternative to reality of life. So we got baseball, we got football, we got basketball, we got soccer, we got rugby, we got golf, we got tennis. We got all these sports that entertain us and keep our minds distracted from the reality of the political world we live in. Now, later on in the show, I'm going to talk about some more politics, but right now I just want to talk about that sport. So this man is doing a service on the field, regardless of the fact that he's making a lot of money. He was a 6th-round draft pick. 6th round. 6th-round draft pick is not the same as the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round. He was 6th round. Now, he's going to see the field, but his expectations are different than, say, a number 1 draft pick. That was 1st rounder. Different set of expectations. This year, he started on the field. He was getting his opportunity to start, his opportunity to play. Then this happened. 24 years old. Again, my prayers go out to this man. My prayers go out to his family. My prayers go out to all the other players out there. It is not going to be easy. It's hard to watch this happen to him. I'm praying for full recovery. I'm glad that, like I say, he's 24 years old. He has a better chance to recover than a lot of older people would have in that same situation. I'm not going to go over the whole medical thing. I'm not a medical person. I do understand that there was a possibility that I heard one doctor talking last night that there is this thing when he gets hit, when your heart is between beats, the beat of your heart. If you get hit in your chest or take a trauma to your chest, that it can interrupt the rhythmia in your heart. And that caused his heart to sputter out and stop, right? So that's possible. I don't know if that's the case. Do not quote me on that. It's not a scientific. I am not a doctor. I'm just going based on what I saw in one of the interviews I saw from one of the TV stations last night. But I do know this, that he is currently being sedated, that he has been intubated. That means that they've put a breathing tube in, and they're trying to give him a chance to recover fully. Now, they're saying that his vitals are normal, so on and so forth, but, this was a traumatic situation. The body needs time to recover from that traumatic situation. So, again, I'm praying for his family. I'm praying for the team. And let's continue with the story.